Hello, everyone watching at home. You're with Adelaide Eternal. I'm Sarven McLinton, and co-host here is Beckett Wolfe.
Hello again.
And we are following Beckett's run in the Bluebell Open, which was a tournament recently, major tournament on MTGO. We know, I think you probably have already seen round one. We know that Beckett goes very deep in this tournament, but we won't spoil the ending for you. This is round two. Now, part of this is on playback. I'll let Beckett pull that one up and share it. The first game of this match was not captured because of the recording software and picks up about turn 5 of the second game. So we'll watch this on replay. All right, so maybe you can just horse racing us through this one.
Well, yeah, the horse racing mechanic, I'm not 100% sure how quick it goes. It seems to sometimes like pause, like it goes really quick and then it pauses. But I'll do my best. It's a land heavy hand. I get Once Upon a Time, which can help me not guarantee, but help me guarantee a 3-drop or a good curve at least. It gets ruined by the Thoughtseize, but at least I've got Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf's been really overperforming lately. Bowmasters is a lot worse now that my opponent knows about it. I'm not really going to get you, but as a 2-mana Raise the Alarm that can maybe ping a dork, I mean, Raise the Alarm's a card, right, Sarv? It's a real card. It's not a good card,
Playable.
but it's like if that's what you got, that's what you got, And I think a lot of Magic is about rethinking how you want to play. And I feel like I'm on the beat down because my Goif's so big. So I could Gigantha here, which is a legitimate play. Got nothing wrong with that, and keep up the Bowmasters, even though my opponent knows about it. They might have a dork, they're just not playing. But I decide to raise the alarm.
It's good if it gets
Because
countered or killed and puts a creature in the graveyard.
Yeah, but this is actually quite bad. They kill the main threat, which is Goif, and now Bowmasters by itself really isn't pressure enough because now the game slows down. But I rip Bombardiers. We'll talk about Bombardiers maybe, at a later time. This card overperforms for both me and my opponents throughout the tournament. It
It's
it's a
not 0
sleeper.
points, right? Is it still?
It's 0 points. It's 0 points. I'm not saying it needs to be pointed. I hate that. Like, you should point it. I don't like doing that. But I will say this card overperformed. Overperformed. Um,
Now you got exalted, make that little 1/1/2/2.
oh, I know. It's
Clean
so
Morlock.
close, isn't it? It's so
Morlock's
close.
strong.
Questing Beast is
Or
pretty
Questing Beast.
scary here.
This is just mid-range at its finest. So this is Juzza. Justin Chung is your opponent. Basically multi-year champion, every Highlander titles in Canberra. Just every year, Juzza's probably on the top somewhere.
See, yeah, I don't. I've been out too long. I don't know the meta, and I don't know the meta players.
Justin Chung usually goes doesn't play Highlander, then gets someone asks someone what's the best deck, picks up the best deck, and then in Jazz's hands just creams everyone, just schools everyone on the format.
Well, this was you might have missed it. My opponent Jazza, I was on the play and they mulled this game. So I'm just switching over to normal play here. We've caught up to where we're at. My turn 6. Um, so hopefully that screen's sharing okay there, Sal.
Nice. It looks like it's working, and
Yeah.
the horse racing went well. If
Horse
people like
racing
horse
works.
racing commentary on Magic online, then maybe you can do some more because it's a lot of fun to watch.
So Morlock here was a great rip. I still had a little bit of play with the troll being able to trade with Questing Beast, but Morlock was a particularly good rip. This was a card I was going to cut when I first read it because I thought it was a 0/0. I assumed it was a 0/0. I was like, oh, it's okay, but it's pretty expensive, like 4 mana to do 2. And then I realized it's a 2/2. So yeah, it was much better than I thought.
Yeah. This is for anyone who has like not watched Highlander for a while and maybe didn't hear our discussion of the metagame in round one, the previous one. If you haven't watched it, go there and watch it to get more detail and look at the deck lists and so on. But what you're seeing right now is the state of Highlander meta at the moment. It's very grindy, mid-range, reason being all the pressure, all the powerful 3 drops, 4 drops, etc., are not pointed. So you can just play all of these powerful cards and just do a slugfest. I'll do a haymaker, then you'll do a haymaker back, and we'll do a haymaker, and then you'll do a haymaker back. Kind of like that. Morlock, kill your thing. Now Morlock, kill your thing. Now Questing Beast. So this is kind of the nature of the format. If you like mid range, if you like combat math, and if you like cube, combat math type cube, not playing combo because combo is not good. Combo gets beaten by mid range, which is not how the cycle
It's
of
been the meta for a
actually.
while now, I think. Although breach is still strong, right? I mean, I've seen so many breach decks doing well.
Look
Especially
at the top 8 of every major event.
I don't.
Jund, initiative, Jund with initiative, 3 colors with initiative, 4 colors with initiative, 2 colors with Blood Moon and initiative.
Now, so we were talking in the last video about decision makings being changed based on life total, and there you can see, Mosswort, like being able to turn a 1/1 into a lethal threat with Hierarch, it makes your opponent make bad decisions. So there, I used to be of the opinion that as long as I'm on 1 health, it doesn't matter. But that's not actually true. You force your opponents to make bad decisions when they're on low life, because they have to make conservative decisions or trade badly to protect life totals. And that was a good example of exactly that.
Oh, for sure. And this is especially an example of how Jund plays the control role in mid-range matchups, even though it's mid-range and they're all like different breeds of mid-range. Juz is playing the control role, removal, you're the threat, removal, your threat, removal, low life total, still removing your things in order to stabilize and then eventually take over the game. And you're just going threat, you are the beatdown. Here's my threat. Here's another threat. Oh, Gigantha, that's another threat. Like, how good is this Gigantha?
Yeah, it's so strong. You might be thinking Archon was correct there because my opponent's on 2 life and it's evasive, but Shaman can just stay with it by gaining life. Exalted, I'd chip away at it 1 at a time, but it's a bit slow. I'd rather just pressure with a big Gigantha.
Scarlet, a new cube card.
Really good. And I recommended this to you in the list that I'm playing, or your list. I'm not saying it has to put it in the maybe board. I think it's cool.
Switch in with Eowyn, if it's not a creature meta. So Scarlet is, it's your thing can't block, you get to pressure, you get to get card advantage, and it has haste. Like, very, very good in the current meta.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost a guaranteed bash in because of the can't block and the haste. So you like get that, you pressure that Planeswalker, you get that Monarch, you get that initiative, or you can just do some big alpha strike, and say like, I win this turn because I just had lethal in a really big board state. The other reason not to play Archon was it's cheaper than Gigantha. So if I draw another threat, there's a very good chance I can play 2 threats in 1 turn.
Perfect. This is like limited cube stuff right now. Do you play the 5-drop when you have 6 mana, or do you play the 3-drop and then
my cube history's coming out as it
it's beautiful. This is an expert clinic, and you did exactly that, and you ended up having a high chance of drawing another threat that cost around 4 mana, and in this instance it was 2 mana.
Well, Scion is actually lethal there because it gives green trample, and so that's lethal with Gigantha over the top of the Shaman.
Yes, that's beautiful. So you've taken game 1. Now post board is really interesting. So in Jund can often play Blood Moon, and is probably one of the strengths of being an only 3 color or 2 splash 3rd color, or around that kind of range. And Jund does that expertly. It's got disruption, and then it's got disruption in the form of a proactive lock piece like Blood Moon. So your version plays Forest and Plains. I think mine does as well, right? We both play just 2 basics.
I went up to Swamp as well.
Swamp. Okay, all right, cool. So you're because of your creature cyclers, you're probably in a pretty good spot against the Blood Moon. Khazali, this is the cost of Khazali, right? You had to take Khazali out, whereas you'd want to keep Outland Liberator in versus Blood Moon.
Yeah, well, also, I'm not convinced they're on Blood Moon. I didn't see a single basic. And you'll see, I'm asking.
Is this you texting me? Yeah.
And I got to say, this is this is perfectly legal, right? Like, this is Moto. This is a different thing. Moto is a different game. It's a fascinating. I could talk a lot about the differences, but because the triggers are done for you, you don't have to memorize triggers, which is a skill in Magic. It's not applicable to Modo, right? And there's like misclicks, and that's not applicable to IRL paper Magic. And yeah, like this is another thing. I mean, one thing I can do in Modo, right, is if I get Opposition Agent and I get to look at your deck, I can go into my computer, I can open up the snip tool, I can screenshot it, put it on another tab, and then I can always have your exact list up whenever I want it. That's something you can't do in paper Magic, right? So it is a different game, and this is part of it. I messaged Raj as well because you weren't responding, Sub. I messaged Raj and I said, "Just jump play Blood Moon." He was like, "Oh, like something, but not like short answer, no." So I was like, "All right, cool."
Nice. You got
I
Adelaide
leave with
stand by
Pilgrim
the
there.
background, the brain stress.
The brain stress, but you can like it is a different game. So, I lead with Pilgrim there, because I've got 3 dorks, and there's a very good chance that one of them will die.
Yeah, this is a science of mid range. Do you lead with your best dork or do you lead with your worst dork? And usually the answer is you lead with your second best. Like don't put your worst one, but put your darn
I'll pay
decent.
that. Yeah, I'll pay
Yeah.
that. Well, the Arboreal's not that good with just the Savannah, and that's not a great top deck. I mean, it's better than a Chaos Defiler.
Yeah, this is where an Arbor Elf, etc., would be so much better as a land cycler. And you could kind of like land cycle, play a land, untapped land, and then you get to play another mana dork. But this is kind of a bit of the science at the moment. Like a land cycle is better, a mana dork's better, fast mana artifact stuff better, sacrifice the mana artifact like
not really.
spirit guides and lotus petals and so on better. The Raj might have been too greedy. Nice. Good. The brains trust working in the background.
But yeah, I gotta say I really am liking the trolls because like you don't want to be in this position where you're missing land drops. I think it's okay. It's recoverable to play a tapped land in the form of spend a mana to find a land to play the land. That's the same as playing a tapped land. I think it's recoverable as long as you're building, but you don't want to be missing land drops. But this is not a terrible position. Like when all is said and done, the dust is settled. Yes, I'm on the back foot. Yes, I'm a bit slow, but I'm untapping with 4, maybe 5 mana.
Okay. Like this is game over, basically. Before it was tenuous. You were definitely behind. You had your first 2 mana dorks killed and you missed the land drop. And Juzz has done like a clinic on going bolt the bird. This is the bolt the bird clinic. Bolt all 4 of your birds throughout the first
trade bolt.
Yep. And now the hope, fingers crossed, the hope is that when the dust settles, all the premium removal, those premium removal spells were used on your mana dorks, and instead you ended up being able to draw land, and then you get to start playing 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. That's the hope of how a mid-range / initiative type matchup plays out. They've wasted their time on trying to slow you down, and it didn't matter. You just developed underneath them and then ended up playing real threats.
Well, the problem is they're playing essentially what's that, necros, I mean, this is just it's like for newer players, necro is like the term for a kill on a creature, like a 4 mana ETB, destroy your opponent's creature. And this is just the power creep evolution of that with Morlock and Fury. I mean, they are necros.
Go look up Necrotal, like with TAAL, I think it is Necrotal. And
my era, I would have said Skin Render. I was a bit too. I didn't quite start playing
like Necrotal era, and then Necrotal
Skin Render,
the best
Skin Render era.
And then there's like the Flame Tongue Kabu era.
Yeah.
But basically, these are all the best Necrotals you've ever seen. Morlock, Fury, brutal.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a choice there. I've got some cards. The Goyf doesn't trade with the Morlock. The Peacekeeper trades, but yeah, I just like the double strike on Fury.
Too much.
So I can go to 9 here, and then maybe
it's a reactive play. which is not where you want to be, but it's what you need to do and hope they don't play a 4-drop here or 5-drop, and you get to stabilize with something bigger. That's the hope. But sometimes these things don't pan out the way you want to. Like, you want to be the beatdown. You want to be able to be developing and removing, developing and disrupting, like Anointed Peacekeeper, develop whilst disrupting. And this is when you draw the mental misstep, like, this is probably an example of where, like, if your deck is too heavy on removal or interaction, you get into board states like this where they've got 2 threats out, you draw the removal spell, you kill one of the threats, but they're still beating down. And that's what the Leyline Binding did. You want to have like the snuff out, where you play your threat and you snuff out their creature, and you're now, juggling, or the Necrotile. You play a threat whilst killing their threat.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I got to say, Snuff Out is, I'm not saying I regret putting it in, because we talked about that in video 1 when we looked at the decks and how you got to be really careful not to add too much removal. But Snuff Out is strong, man. It is strong.
It just completely turns it turns.
It's a tempo. It's like Force of Will.
Of your cards into a Necrotile. It turns, like, Tarmogoyf Snuff Out is like you just played a Flame Tongue Kavu. You killed their creature and you played your thing, but it's a 2-drop creature.
Yeah, no, I'll pay that. I understand the logic, because you're up mana as well. So I liken it to a Force of Will a lot of the time, because you're just getting up on tempo and you're able to play an extra threat. I'm having a bit of a tough time thinking about what to say here. I mean, he's got 1 threat and 2 removals, right?
And you named the thing. It looks like you've named the thing that removes 2 things by Fire Covenant. It removes more than 1 thing. Whereas if you named any of the others, they're kind of 1-for-1s, right? So that,
well, my logic is very simply that Fire Covenant is an instant and could be cast right now. And then my opponent could untap and play another threat or keep up removal. So that way, because there's no lands in the bin for Shaman, so that way it's, because I know they've got the mana to just, I mean, they can Molten Collapse the Peacekeeper to switch on the Covenant. So I'm just messing with their extra mana that turn.
Yeah, good. No, I like that. That was a good play. Okay, well, the game's over now. But that was a really interesting point there, where you name the thing that you know that they were kind of like, they were budgeting on doing, and so it just disrupted their turn cycle. In the end, it was entirely irrelevant, because the 2-point, and well worth its 2 points, Minsk and Boo, off the top, easy game now.
What are you talking about, man? I'm still in this.
Still in this. Yeah. We can get back. Now you need a Necrotile that kills destroys the target hamster.
There's no cards.
Sacrifice a Planeswalker.
There's no cards in Magic, I think. Balance? Even Balance doesn't do it. What is it? I don't.
There's like no way to get back from this particular scenario.
Yeah.
Anyone who hasn't played Minsk and Boo, yeah, it looks like you go 4 mana threat, 2 points. Why would I spend my 2 points on the 4 mana threat? Well, it's because that 4 mana threat just literally says win the game. Unless they have a lightning bolt there, and then everyone goes, oh, but if you have a lightning bolt, 1 mana can remove it. If they have a Hydro Blast, yeah, like, as a threat that is unanswered, you will win the game. It's simple as that. And even if it is answered, that's so hard to trade 1-for-1 with that.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's so difficult. I mean, it's the haste. I mean, it pressures you. If you kill the Minsk, you probably die to the 4/4, and if you kill the 4/4, you die to the 4/4.
Yep. Exactly right. Now so you're 1-1 with Juzza. You're now on the play, which is fantastic. This is great. Like,
it's
really
really good.
Play, Mana Dork turn 1, 3-drop, choice of 3 drops on turn 2. The only way this hand could get better is if they have a removal spell and you draw a 2-drop. That's the only way this hand could be better. Otherwise, this is chef's kiss hand.
Yeah, maybe a Snuff Out. Sprinkle a Snuff Out in there.
Oh yes, yeah. Turn your next creature into a Necrotile.
Turn your next creature into. That just sounded like a skeezy salesman, like,
Would
on a
you like to
late night
turn your
ad. Do you want to
down?
turn your
Now it's snuff out.
your
You can play just with a small down payment of 4 life. That's just 4 life. You can.
you can turn your next creature into a Necrotal.
So this is going to be interesting. You're going to hope that they just lead on Mana Dork. Deathrite Shaman here, you'd be happy. But if it's removal spell, it's yeah. This is the worst case scenario. But you could draw a 2-drop. That's always a plus, or another Mana Dork. That's also fine. Yeah, that's a cost.
It's a bummer.
Mhm.
And Windswept Heath is the only fetch that doesn't get Xander's Lounge.
Mm. Oh yeah, that would have been perfect here.
But I want white anyway, so it's not
Legitimate.
the end of the world.
And it goes to show the times where people play, instead of Mana Dork, they play Mana Crypt, some kind of artifact mana doesn't get removed, and you guarantee your turn 1 or 2 play.
Now
Following up with Tarmogoyf.
this is just the power of Goyf. A 2-mana 0-pointed card trumping a 3-mana 1-pointed card, and Lelia is no better because Lelia can't swing into it.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I think Tarmogoyf used to be the best, hands down, no questions asked. It's the best blue 2-drop threat, right? Tarmogoyf was the best every color 2-drop threat. And then we had this new era of initiative and White Plume Adventurer, bannable in Legacy, etc. This card is amazing, but right back to Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf 0-point threat trumps 1-point powerful initiative card.
And part of the reason White Plume Adventure is good isn't just because it's 3-mana initiative. It's a 3/3. That's a good stats. 3 for 3/3. I mean, you might think it goes without saying. Try to find 3 for 3/3 in any of your cool. Go through a high quality, a true name nemesis. I mean, maybe that's not a great example, but it's very difficult to find 3-mana 3/3s that also have tacked on amazing abilities. And even with a strong power and toughness, it's still getting crushed by Goyf. Now, my logic there, I knew it was risky, but I know I have 2 more initiative cards, and I know I hit my land off starting the Undercity. So I know I can win it back even if my opponent has spot removal for the White Plume Adventurer, which they did. So I can win it back here. I'm not letting my opponent snowball away. And they can win it again, but they have to throw Mosswort Dreadbridge into it.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I was hoping that this turn would be Lelia, Deathrite Shaman, attack and get the initiative back. But all they needed to do was play a 3/2, like something with 3 power, and that play is no longer available to you. So I think this is, as you said, the better play. Seasoned Dungeoneer, make a very, very thick creature ready to eat whatever they attack with. If they have a removal spell, again, you're like so far behind. But if they don't have a removal spell, this is a great way to get straight back into the game.
I agree, and I am far behind, but at least I've got the caves to win it back again. And reanimate. I mean, that's an interesting choice for Jones.
Yeah, reanimate here, being able to take the initiative without actually attacking, very, very powerful. So this goes to show this is an initiative game. This game is all entirely decided by people's ability to win back the initiative, because if you're not attacking, then and once you get the initiative before attacks and get to make the Tarmogoyf bigger, phenomenal.
Yes, you might be thinking that it's correct to swing first and then initiative again with White Plume, but the opponent made the right choice there by getting initiative first so that they can forge onto Goyf to make the swing better. So my opponent definitely made the right choice there.
Yeah, beautiful. And like this is, Tarmogoyf just
Or
showed.
reanimate as well. Like the fact that my opponent could play 2 3-drops for 4 mana.
You couldn't do this with Animate Dead. Like you go reanimate and play Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah. So now I've got a choice. I can fetch Xander's Lounge, play Scion and Shaman, or Caves and Shaman. The problem is if I go Caves and Shaman, then the Scion is always going to be a 4-drop.
Yeah,
Because without the Xanders, it becomes a 4-drop.
I see. I see. And so this situation is kind of how do you get the initiative back without immediately losing the initiative the following turn?
Yeah.
Because once you've played the caves, you don't have an easy way to get the initiative back and kind of ride it.
Yeah, I think I just gotta hope. I mean, my logic is I gotta hope that I'm playing caves and the season's just a big girl, playing the caves and playing a chump blocker to force my opponent to go wide against me to win initiative back. And that way I can get some good trades at least.
Yep.
So, I can trade well with the seasoned Dungeoneer. I can trade with the caves and I can chump the Goyf. And then maybe stabilize with the Scion and the Lelia.
Yeah. Given the
But
fact,
trap feels bad here, man.
yeah, goad is
I'm
like
considering it.
tra trap looks is bad, but right now, just given how far behind you are, but the alternative is not very good.
No, that's right. So, I mean, I don't want my opponent to attack.
This is kind of the reason the Undercity is just this is why the initiative is such a mindless mechanic and an element that I'm not particularly fond of in the metagame at the moment because once the initiative is in the game, the path is almost deterministic. You know how the game is going to play out. It's just a matter of whether you can turn something sideways and then continue the game to play out in that way. It's
Absolutely.
not like draw a card, do this random effect. It's always going to be secret entrance, forge, trap, 95% of the time.
Even if you're not doing that, Sarv, if you're playing like an aggro deck or control deck, you're thinking, how do I win through initiative? Can I beat them before they get to their trap? Can I
Five
not
life
let
points right now, and
Yeah, like I can't let them get to
together.
the throne of the dead three. Like
Yeah,
it's
always the
just
same.
all encompassing. Even if you're not trying to play on that access, you're calculating it into every decision you make.
You don't have to play the initiative for the games to be boring, always initiative focused. You just have to be playing in the metagame, and then someone else will summon the initiative. But
That's the thing, you have to learn it. I mean, it's not your card, and you have to learn everything about it
and you have to have the card as well, because if you're going to travel into the Undercity,
physically. Yeah,
you physically need to have that. So Minsk and Boo, I think we were just saying this literally just the previous game on
yeah,
how powerful this is. One of the best 2-point cards, and it's exactly for this reason. Look at how big this swing is.
yeah. They put if you missed it, they put the 3 counters on something else with trample. I think the Mosswort dead bridge.
Yeah,
It hardly matters. My opponent's got forge here, so that's the game over.
yeah, game over. The little synergy where Minsk can put counters on like Grim Flayers and Mosswort Dread Knights and so on is pretty hilarious. Yeah, so looking at your subsequent cards you were drawing, yeah, removal spell didn't really do much when their board's so wide. That's the kind of situation where you need a Winds of Abandon or something. Like you need there are mirror breaker cards where you go Winds of Abandon, you get to swing and take control of the game.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're now 1-1.
1-1.
And that was the end of round 2. So we've got a few more rounds to go. We've got 5 rounds of this event, and maybe a top 8, but we'll talk about that later. We'll see how deep your run goes. No spoilers. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
watching,
watching,
everyone.
everyone.